There are millions of podcasts being done all over the world that take on the personalities of their creator. Some bring in thousands of listeners each week. Some bring in large amounts of revenue, while others entertain millions and help sell products. If you're like many podcasters, you want to reach your maximum potential. But how? How do you make your podcast stand out from all the rest? Join Dr. Barrett Matthews as he talks to experts who are doing it on The Productive Podcaster. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Productive Podcaster. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I am excited today to bring another episode to you. I got a great guest. I'm excited about this. Y'all know I'm always excited about my guests, but this one is a personal friend of mine, so I want to definitely tell you I'm excited to have him on The Productive Podcaster today. But I want to tell you guys, for those of you who are listening for the first time, I want to let you know about The Productive Podcaster. This is a podcast for podcasters, for people who want to be podcasters. If you're sitting there, you're thinking, I might want to be a podcaster, but I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if this will work. I don't know if that'll work. Well, the people that I bring on for you are to help you with that. I want to let you know that there is no cookie cutter way to do a podcast. There are so many different ways to do them. There's so many different people that do them. And there's so many different topics that you can have on your podcast. So I'm bringing to you all of those people who still have productive podcasts and do them in so many different ways. So that's what The Productive Podcaster is about. If you're a potential podcaster or an existing podcaster, you need to tune in and listen, because these people here are bringing it. And here's what I want you to do also. I want you to share it. Let everyone know to go and get on and subscribe to The Productive Podcaster. Make sure that you are doing it. Make sure your friends are doing it. And join our Facebook group, which is called what? The Productive Podcaster. So go join our Facebook group, and we will make sure that we welcome you and tell you all the other things that come with being a member in our Facebook group. So that is part of the Productive Podcast. Now, what I want to do now is bring up a segment that I love to call Pros and Cons.
Pros and Cons.
Now, what is pros and cons? Pros and cons is my little tip to you. I'm going to give you a tip about podcasting that can help you to be better as a podcaster, because these are some things that can help you to be a professional podcaster, as opposed to just being a con. So here's the thing. One of the things, and this is, of course, I should say a unisex tip, but it's not lowering your Adam's apple, but it's really your larynx, lowering your larynx. And what that's going to do is help your register when you speak. It's going to make sure that people can actually understand what you're saying, and it doesn't put the strain on your vocal cords. Now, you're saying, well, how do you know this? Well, I actually used to sing in a band, so I know a little bit about that. And I also have taken speaking courses. I was a media major. I learned these things because it helps you to project when you speak. It helps you to just to feel better also, because actually putting a strain on your vocal cords can really hurt. It can really hurt you. So what you want to do is lower your larynx, make sure that you're speaking in a tone that is calm, that is peaceful, that can actually let you project what it is you want to say without straining your voice and yelling and screaming just to get yourself heard. It's all about the muscles in your vocal cords. So you want to make sure that you can do that. Lower your larynx, lower your Adam's apple, as they call it, and make sure that people can hear you. So that is pros and cons. Now, everyone, what I'm going to do right now is take a short break. And when I come back on The Productive Podcaster, I'm going to bring my man Justin Morgan here to talk to you guys, and it's going to be fantastic. So everybody, stay tuned. We're right back after this message.
You've heard the rumblings. You even thought about starting your own. But how? Everybody knows podcasting is the fastest and best way to get your message out and grow your business all at once. Although everybody knows this, nobody showed you what to do. Well, Podcast Nation is ready to do all the heavy lifting for you while you just deliver your message and grow. Join the nation and start your podcast today. Text podcast to 929-244-4323 and make them hear your voice.
Do you hear what I hear? That's the sound of your tribe, your audience, your people. That's the sound of your nation. The people who love to hear the sound of your voice as you bring your special message to them in your very own podcast. How do you get it to them? Let us handle that. We're Podcast Nation, and we make sure they hear your voice. Podcast Nation is a full-service podcasting firm that does all of the hard work for you so that you can be the talent and get your message to your people. Just text podcast to 929-244-4323 and talk to one of our staff on how you can get started with your very own done-for-you podcast. Or go to podcastnation.com and get started today. That's PODCAST nation.com. Your people are waiting on you. Make them hear your voice. Podcast Nation.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Productive Podcaster. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I told you before I went to break, I'm bringing a special guest here. This is a good friend of mine. I've known him for years, and we've worked together, done a lot of things together, and I'm just happy to have him on the show today. He is the king of automation. He can show you how to automate anything in your business to make the work light on you guys. Y'all work too hard. I'm just telling you, you're working too hard. So I'm going to bring to the mic right now none other than my friend, Mr. Justin Morgan. Justin, welcome to the Productive Podcast.
Thank you, Barrett. Appreciate you having me on here today.
Man, I told you before, I love his setup, man. Don't y'all love his setup? He's sitting there just chilling in his little podcast setup. I love it. I love it, man. It's cool. So the thing, Justin, your podcast is Automation Mastery. First of all, I love that. I love that. This is something a lot of people don't know. See, I do the Productive Podcaster once a week. How often do you do Automation Mastery?
I put out 3 episodes a week.
3 episodes a week.
3 episodes a week.
I get that question from people. How often do I have to do it? And I keep telling them there is no cookie cutter way. Nope. Some people do them twice a day. Justin does his 3 times a week. Now, I got to ask you, in that, is that a strain on you doing it 3 times a week? Was there a challenge?
Barrett, it's a process, man, and I think folks ultimately, folks got to do what they're comfortable with, what works for them. For me, doing 3 isn't necessarily any harder than doing 1. And here's why. Because 1, I don't do all of mine like this, where they're interviews. A lot of them are just me. Now I've picked up where I'm getting interviews, and so now it's a little bit harder because I'm only going to do an interview like a week or every other week on my particular podcast, but the rest of them are just me talking. So when I do mine, for the most part, I section out a time. Usually it's a Friday morning because I usually post them all on Friday, and I schedule them on Fridays.
Right.
So I'll just wake up Friday morning and just record. So I'll do 1, stop, take a breath. Record another, stop, take a breath, and record the next one. And so it's really no harder in that regard than doing like 1, because I'm not doing
you're in my long ones. You're in my wheelhouse now, because that's what I call productive.
Right.
you do them all at once. I was telling someone that today. I said, why are you working so hard? Just do them all at one time, and then you have it already done. That's smart. Now, see, I know what some people are saying right now, Justin. They're saying, yeah, but see, he's a young man. He's single. He has no kids. He got time to do that. And that's right for you, Justin. Right.
So,
right.
See, Barrett's setting y'all up. Because first off, I'm married, got 2 kids. Growing the business. So folks I don't know when folks are watching this, but I'm still transitioning out of the full time into the business full time. So but the business right now feels like it's full time. So that's how much work it is at the moment. So it's really kind of like having 2 full time gigs at the moment, because again, kind of doing that transition. So even within that, right? Even within that, I'm getting it done. And so what I would say to folks, again, to being productive, it gets a little bit harder now because the times that we're in. But what I did is what challenged myself, and again, I feel like everybody should find this version of this. I challenged myself to produce, I think it was like some crazy amount of like 100 videos within like 30 days or something stupid like that, right? Like I say stupid. Like stupid. And so what was funny was it was a point where I think I had like 3 days or like 2 days left to finish my challenge. So I did one time and I'm driving around. This is not safe. by the way, y'all. But I literally, on the drive home, I think one day shot like 10 videos between the time it took me to leave work, pick up my son, and get home. Like just little short clips that I could then post later.
Hey, like, Russell Brunson did podcasts in his car.
All the time.
Right.
Right. And then the same thing with podcast episodes. Like I could, depending on what I don't know what tool you use, Barrett, but like I use a tool that allows me to I can record it from my phone. Right. If I want. So I can watch the road still and report my podcast if I want. Right. So it's like, I just get it done.
Right. Justin and I live in the same area, so he could be sitting in traffic anyway. So.
Right. Right. Exactly. Funny of that.
Now, I gotta say this now, because I want to talk to you about your topic, automation mastery. Now, talk to the people about automation and what you mean by that, by automation.
So automation just means the ability for a result to happen without you being in the picture. So, and as I said before, like I'm kind of a business where I have to do that, right? So, because I'm still transitioning out of my full time, and like the business is growing, so even as it grows more, I have to be even more aggressive about automating things, because essentially, I only have but so much time in the day to get something done. I only have so much time in the day to work for clients. So I only have so much time today to market. And so if there's a goal I want to achieve, I have to have something in place that allows that thing to happen without it resulting or requiring my full-time effort and energy. So whether that be a tool, a process, a procedure, or a person, right? I have to have those things in place in order for those things to work with my lifestyle, right? And what I have going on.
But that's cool. That's just so. If someone, like I said, let me ask you this: who is your target audience as far as someone dealing with automation mastery?
Coaches and speakers mainly. I get some authors. I get, some folks that have small businesses. It really just comes down to coaches and speakers. That's who I've been. Barrett knows we've been to events and things, but I've been working with that space now for the last 6+ years, specifically in terms of helping them set up automation.
Okay, cool. So in doing that, do you find that you're able to reach them more through your podcast?
I find that the podcast helps create that omnipresence, right? And there's little time cost for me. So for me, it's just and what I love about the podcast platform is like I can kind of promote it, but because with a lot of these podcast platforms, like if I'm going and searching for something, I need to find a topic. Like it's very search heavy, so somebody can go in and find me without me like shouting to the world or feeling like I need some huge billboard. But again, it just gives me that omnipresence that is needed when you're trying to grow a brand and really get folks to know, like, and trust you faster, right? So that's the way that I look at it.
So have you found that you've gotten clients through your podcast?
Yeah, I've had folks that is like, hey, Justin, I hear you this, I hear you everywhere, right? And it's really the term everywhere, right? Like it's the fact that they can go check out many different places and they see you. So it kind of it's not just a one thing. It's like hey, I found you on YouTube. I see you got podcasts and that stuff's good. I see you on Facebook every week. So it gives you that omnipresence that you really need to attract attention.
So those 100 stupid videos weren't so stupid after all, huh? So.
Right. I mean, well, so just real quick, like today I saw a comment, and there's a couple of versions of this. And so again, apply this out to y'all as you may. I said, I did a thank you video just last night, and it was because folks took the time to comment on that post. And one guy came in, he's just like, well, I just thank you for being consistent. Like, and that doesn't seem like it should be a big deal.
It is.
But it really does, because all of us have been in a point in time where we weren't consistent. And so when we finally get in that groove of being consistent and we see folks noticing that we're being consistent, and then you start getting clients, because believe it or not, some of your clients are going to be the folks that you never hear from. Yeah. I got a client right now. She's just like, she never comments on my stuff, right? Never would have known she watched my live show. But she's like, yes, for a while, I just kind of like stalked your stuff. Didn't say anything. Like, didn't comment, share, none of that. Right? But just like, yeah, I just kind of stalked your stuff. And then when I saw your email, got in touch with you, I was just like, yeah, we got to do this.
And that's the thing. 'Cause I'm glad you brought that up, though, Justin, because the consistency is key. And I literally was just having this conversation yesterday with someone. And I told her, I said, you need to be everywhere and you need to be consistent. I said, if someone expecting to see you at a certain time every day, you need to be there.
Be right there.
Because you don't know who's watching you. You don't know why they're watching you. And you don't know when they're going to take action. And if you stop them from being able to take action, because some people are, let's face it, some people are waiting to get their money right.
Right.
But they're still counting on you to be there to give them that motivation, to give them that impetus to make that transaction. If you stop being consistent, yeah, that's the thing. And that's why it's very important. And that's why I love that you're doing it 3 times a week, because you were standing in their face. Now, another question on that, how many episodes have you done so far?
That I've counted.
Okay,
that I've counted that are officially like episode number blank.
Yeah.
I think it's like 70 something right now.
That's great.
And those are the only ones I've kept up with. There was a period of time in the dark ages of a podcast journey.
We all got our dark ages.
Just throw an episode out there. I don't know what the title is. Just put stuff out there, right?
Those of you who have been podcasting, you know what we mean by those dark ages. So we've all got our dark ages. We can pull them up somewhere and just make them into a bonus or something. But we've all got our dark ages. Now, in saying that, because like I said, you've done about 70, and I bring that up because Justin will more than likely be looking for sponsors for his podcast. Justin will be looking for guests for his podcast. The more episodes he has, the more consistency he has, the more he shows up everywhere, the easier it is to get those things coming to him. And I just bring that up because I get all the time asked about monetizing your podcast. And these are people who haven't even started their podcast yet. Right. So I'm like, you got to start it first. Get the thing going. Listen to what Justin said. Get that consistency going. Now, and that's the thing. And I want you to talk a little bit more on what that means to you. Because like you said, when people say to you that, they want to thank you for being consistent, it's easy for us to stop being consistent.
Right.
Right. I want you to just talk a little bit more on that. That's how easy it is to stop if you don't get feedback from people.
So here's again the short version of the journey, right? Mm-hmm. I started out in the motivation space. So before I became this automation guy, I started out in the motivation space. I used to have this channel on YouTube called New Future Builder, right? Mm-hmm. So that was my previous brand. It's still there. So if folks want to see it, it's still up. Just search New Future Builder. You'll see some embarrassing videos and you'll see some good videos and some in between. And it took me some time to get that channel to 1,000 plus, and I just let it go. Like at the height of it. At the height of it. And here's why. And there was something that somebody told me some time ago, like years ago, Barrett. And I think you probably know him, but I won't say who it is. We were having a private conversation. He just told me, hey, Justin, no matter what stuff you get excited about and what like opportunities look good, make sure you never forsake your own brand. Mm-hmm. Now, that was, I've thankfully on the side now, right? Like it's fine. I have my own brand again. I'm doing my thing. I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying this hustle anyway. Having, just got off probably the biggest quarter in my business so far. But looking back, there was this dark period where I was working. So again, I was helping other folks building their stuff, and I essentially forsaken my brand, right? And not because I was lazy, and this is what I'm saying, how simple it is because I felt like there was this other opportunity that was better, right? And so inconsistency, or the things that distract you from being consistent, can come up in many different forms. It could be your own excuses, but it can also be the wrong opportunities. Now, I won't say that this particular opportunity was completely wrong, because obviously I'm here where I am now, and I've learned tons of lessons in the past. And of course, I would have never met Barrett had I not embarked on that journey. But certainly during that time, should have and could have made a few less excuses, right? easy excuses. When you got kids in the family, it's easy to make excuses because of things that happen, whether it be good, bad, sad, and the like. But it's just very easy to get off that. So right now, in terms of, if I had to give y'all something in terms of being consistent, right? So is that okay? Can I? It's like, hey, a couple of things. So, little hack I read a couple books. One was The War of Art, not The Art of War, The War of Art. Stephen Pressfield read that. It talks all about resistance. And so, procrastination, distraction, self-doubt, excuses are all forms of resistance. And resistance essentially is the biggest enemy in your life. And so I took some time to really kind of stare resistance in the face and say that, like, no matter what thing is happening right now, it really is just the universe. It's God. It's fate wanting me to make a couple decisions. Either A, I'm going to get past those excuses, I'm going to get it done anyway, or B, I'm just going to accept my current life, or the one that I was trying to get away from in a certain state. So that's one. So kind of just staring at resistance in the face and acknowledging it and just being aware of it in all its forms and accepting it. Yeah. Right. And then two, little hack that I got from, I read the 12-week year. Yeah. Right. Actually listened to it. Again, a little productivity thing. I listened to it. And one of the things I talked about was doing a scorecard. So literally, like right here, and I don't know, folks that can see it, then you can see it, but folks that are listening, hold on a little, it's very high tech, right? Like the best pen and ink and printer went into putting this scorecard together. It's very high tech, but it allows me to essentially just track my daily activity. And so literally, like, whatever I need to do on a consistent basis is on this chart for my weekly wins. And so I literally, like, set it up. It's in front of me all day. And there's also a reward I give myself. So if I'm consistent, I reward myself. For this instance, this week, as long as I hit 95% of my productivity goals or consistency goals for the week, I get to pick out this weekend. Like, that's very simple, right? Like, very simple. But it works, right? It works. So that's my tangent there.
I love it. I love it. And see, the thing is, this is all. This flows right into the fact that automation can help you be more consistent. It can definitely help you be more consistent. So, Justin, before I let you go, or at least before we end up this segment here, I want you to let everyone know the name of your podcast and where they can find it.
I'm over at ampodcast.net. So just go to AM, so as in the morning, podcast.net, and it'll take you straight to it. So,
All right. Justin Morgan, guys, check out Automation Mastery. It's a fantastic podcast. You're going to learn a lot from this guy, a whole lot. You can see he's easy to listen to, and he can teach you a lot. Trust me, I know, because I've learned a lot from him. Now, Justin's going to stay with us, because we're going to go to break right now. When we come back, we got one of our favorite segments, so just stay right there, and we'll be right back with the Productive Podcaster.
You've heard the rumblings. You've even thought of starting your own. But how? Everybody knows podcasting is the fastest and best way to get your message out and grow your business all at once. Although everybody knows this, nobody showed you what to do. Well, Podcast Nation is ready to do all the heavy lifting for you while you just deliver your message and grow. Join the nation and start your podcast today. Text podcast to 929-244-4323 and make them hear your voice.
Do you hear what I hear? That's the sound of your tribe, your audience, your people. That's the sound of your nation. The people who love to hear the sound of your voice as you bring your special message to them in your very own podcast. How do you get it to them? Let us handle that. We're Podcast Nation, and we make sure they hear your voice. Podcast Nation is a full-service podcasting firm that does all the hard work for you so you can be the talent and get your message to your people. Just text podcast to 929-244-4323 and talk to one of our staff on how you can get started with your very own done-for-you podcast. Or just go to podcastnation.com and get started today. That's PODCAST nation.com. Your people are waiting on you. Make them hear your voice. Podcast Nation.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Productive Podcaster. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews, and hey, I told y'all, didn't I tell you? I told you Justin Morgan was the truth, and he was a great, great person to talk to. And guess what? He is still here, because he's still here for one of my favorite segments, and that is called PodQuest.
PodQuest.
All right, now, PodQuest, this is where you, the audience members, get to send us a question, and we will answer that question for you. I will answer it, and Justin will answer it. And how you probably wonder, well, how do I get my question to you? Well, you go to our Facebook group, which is called what? The Productive Podcaster. Go to the Productive Podcaster Facebook group, join the group, and you can submit your question, and we can answer it here for you. So today's question, Justin, I'm going to let you answer it first. And it says, what things can I automate about my podcast?
Okay. That is a great question. Now, first off, I'm going to give you the question you don't want to hear. Depends on your situation. So that's one. But the second part is, if I had to give someone something, and again, I'm assuming only thing I can do is assume is that you're similar to me. Okay. Or you're a less techie version of me. Right. So I find that for most folks, the problem isn't necessarily doing the podcast. I mean, that sucks. But, once you figure out how to actually just do it, meaning record it, from there, it becomes the daunting task of figuring out how to get it up. Okay. So I'll give you my slice of this, and then, again, Bear to give you a spin. I use a piece of software called Anchor. Okay. So Anchor for me, it's an app I can download on my phone. I can use on my computer. So that's the first thing. Again, I want to reduce all resistance. And so having the right tool that allows you to be flexible and make things easy reduces resistance, right? So that's the first thing. And I talked about facing resistance. I want to reduce resistance. So by having the right tool on my phone and my computer, it makes it easier. So literally on the phone, you can pull it up, record it, and let it sit, right? You don't have to post it, right? You don't have to do anything with it. You can record it on the phone and let it sit. Now, my next option after you record it would then depend on you and what your budget is. But if you really want to just take all stress and your hands off the wheel, what you can do is hire a VA, right? And you literally, so again, you start it right? So maybe this week, you take a week, you learn what Anchor looks like, you do it, and you learn how to set it up once. Okay, so you learn how to set up one episode. And if you want to do it on your computer, that's even better, right? Because you go on your computer, you can sit down, get like a screen recording software, get a trial, check something like ScreenFlow, or just TechSmith has a screen capture tool, and just literally record yourself setting up an episode. Hire a VA on the cheap, right? It doesn't have to be super cheap. I mean, if you want to stay under $10 an hour, $10 an hour is high for some folks. Again, in this day and age, those prices do go up. So even if it's $10 an hour, somebody is decent, right? Because you only need to do work like a few hours a week, if that. Okay. So find a day. So record it, get the recording, capture it, go hire somebody, and literally just say, hey, here's what I want done. Here's the recording of how it gets done. Every Monday, I need you to log into the Anchor app, and you're going to find 5 episodes. They then go in and schedule those 5 episodes. You give them the formula for what you need the titles to look like, right, or sound like, or what they need to read and research in order to come up with a good title based off of your topic. All you need to do is just establish that day. You're going to go in, you're going to set aside an hour or 2, depending on how long you want your episodes to be. And you're going to record. So whether it is you recording yourself or you're getting other people on, you'll find, again, even if you set those couple of hours, that you'll fit somebody into that designated space, right? Maybe it's not this week, maybe it's like a couple of weeks out, but you'll find people that you can fit into that designated, I'm only podcasting during this time. So now your real workload is limited to 2 hours or even an hour of your week. And then your VA handles the rest of it. Right? So that's what I call automation. And you do one part, the finished product is the posted podcast, which you allow your now virtual producer essentially to handle for you. That's it.
I love it. See, the reason I let Justin go first is because he and I, that automation and the productivity work hand in hand, because he just set me up for my shameless plug. because if you've been listening to our commercial breaks, you've heard about Podcast Nation. And guess what it does? It does it for you. So you want automation? Let Podcast Nation do it for you. Because what we do is just what he said. All we want you to do is record your podcast, record the audio, send it to us. Just send it to us. We'll put in the music. Everything you see here on the Productive Podcast, or you hear on the Productive Podcaster here, we do that for you. Only thing you're doing is recording yourself. We put it in music. We add your commercial break. If you have your own commercial, we'll put it in there for you. We will upload it to about 5 different podcast platforms for you. If you want video, we do that as well. We'll put it on YouTube for you. We do all of that for you so you can focus on your business. But like Justin said at the top of the show, sit down and just do about 4 or 5 of them. I always tell people, do a month's work. Just take a day and do a month's work so you're done and you can focus on your business. You can focus on your life. You can focus on having some fun instead of saying, oh, I got to do this week. Just do that, and you can let us automate it for you. So that's the best way I had, just to give my shameless plug. So I want to thank my man Justin Morgan for joining me here on the podcast, Productive Podcast, and for helping out here in the PodQuest segment. Now I want to tell you guys once again, if you have a question, you want to submit it, all you have to do is go to our Facebook group, The Productive Podcaster, and just make sure you join the group. But I also want to make sure you share, subscribe, let everybody know what we're doing here, because we're trying to help people. And like I said, the company's called Podcast Nation, but we should be a podcast world. Everybody should have a podcast because you have a voice, you have something to say, get it out there. People need to hear it. You may not think people need to hear it, but there's somebody in this world that needs to hear it, and you never know who you're reaching, just as Justin alluded to earlier. So Justin, thanks again for joining us today, my man. I appreciate you. Once again, let everybody know where they can find you and your podcast.
Y'all can find me over at ampodcast.net. If you need more automation training, just go to automatewithease.com. Okay, so if y'all need more of me and the training that I have there, just automatewithease.com. Free. Just go ahead and check it out. Barrett, I appreciate you, man. And all to y'all listening, love all of y'all. And as usual, as I end everything, and I'll hand it back off to you, make sure y'all treat each day as a been a block to a better future.
All right. Thank you, Justin Morgan. Appreciate it so much, man. That's my buddy right there. Now, guys, we're at the point right now. Y'all know I love this part of the show. It's my podcast profile. It's the point where I get to showcase a podcast that I might have listened to, that I might have heard or seen on video that I want you guys to know about. And this one is called Unfinished. And it's a production company called Witness Docs. And they did dig deep into America's unfinished business. It's real cool. I urge you guys, check it out. It's called Unfinished. Unfinished is the name of the podcast. I want you to check that out. It's a fantastic podcast. I like it. I just found it recently, and I like it. So I hope you guys can like it as well. Well, guess what, guys? It's time for the giveaway. That's right, the Productive Podcaster giveaway. I'm giving away my audio copy of my Amazon best-selling book, Why Didn't You Get It Done? You get an audio copy of it sent to you. And today, Justin Shiflett gets it. Justin Shiflett, you get the audio book of Why Didn't You Get It Done? And you're saying, well, how come I didn't get one? How come? Because you got to join the podcast, Productive Podcaster group. Join the Facebook group. You may have your name called as one of the people, the Productive Podcaster. That is the name of the group. So I want you guys to make sure that you join the group as well. So now that being said, guys, it's time as we wrap up the show for my favorite segment. Y'all know what my favorite segment is. It's the whole show. But actually, now I want to go to the podcast productivity quote, the productivity quote for today. Now, the productivity quote today, it's a short one, but a sweet one, but it's very true. It says, consider everything an experiment. And that's by Corita Kent. Consider everything an experiment. And that holds so true when we're talking about podcasting. Stop trying to be so regimented. Stop trying to figure that everything has to be perfect when you put your podcast out. The people that love your podcast are the ones that like hearing you. They like you already. They like what you're saying. They like what you're talking about. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're just trying to impart what you have to say on them and let them take it from there and whatever they can glean from it and grow from it. So stop trying to be perfect. Just take everything as an experiment. You're going to grow. Episode 1 will not sound like episode 100. I can guarantee you that. So stop trying to be perfect. Just make it happen. Just get it started and make it do what it do, as the saying goes. So guys, on that note, that wraps up today's episode of the Productive Podcast. I want to thank my guest, Justin Morgan, for joining us. And I want to thank you guys once again. Subscribe, go to the Productive Podcast and all your favorite podcast sites. You can also find us on YouTube as well. And I want to make sure that you join the Facebook group too. As I always say before I sign off, don't just settle for being awesome. Set your goal to all them all and take action, everybody. See you next time. Thank you for joining us on the Productive Podcaster. Be sure to join us next time for another great show. We welcome your engagement, so make sure you participate by joining the Productive Podcaster Facebook group and chime in. Also, share the Productive Podcaster with some of your friends right now. If you have a podcast and you're looking for guests, or if you would like to be a guest on a podcast, join our podcast exchange at www.podcastworlddirectory.com. We'll see you next time.